Namah Shri Shankarananda. Salutation to Sri Shankarananda, name of the master of an author, who says that this master is an embodiment of bliss and wisdom. You know what happens, when we appreciate someone, and especially the genuine appreciation, does it change the mind? Ask yourself. Yes, it changes the mind. So that is one aspect of it. Other aspect is salutation. I have been telling you, namaste or salutation has to keep aside our ego. Ego, I-ness and my-ness causes the ignorance. That is what we are talking about in the last two sessions. Guru Padam Bhujanmane, to the lotus feet of the Guru, acknowledging the source of inner guidance. Have you reflected on it, what it means by the lotus feet of the lotus? Lotus is a flower with its aroma, with its beauty. Oh, so we want to keep our I-ness and my-ness crushed under the feet. Crushed means ignorance is gone, acknowledging the source of inner guidance. Both addressing the great play of delusion that entangles the mind. Why we are doing this? Intellectually we are doing it. Normally people starts at the physical level, emotional level, and then there are majority of the people, they don't progress from the physical to the mental. They don't progress. They simply keep touching their feet and nothing changes in their life. They feel as if touching their feet will help me liberate. Nothing is going to happen. They continue to suffer. So addressing the great play of delusion that entangles the mind. Why we are doing this? We recognize, we address the monster of delusion that has to be done. Now you see that just you presence. Presence is very important, means this self-awareness, means you notice. You notice what is going on in your mind and what should go in your mind. What is going into the mind? I-ness and my-ness gain. What should go? The seeker should have a reverence to the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom in the form of a teacher. Presence. So just do nothing, just have a presence and notice what is happening in your mind. Whatever is happening in the movement in your mind has to do with the world outside, and the world is delusion. Buddha explains differently, this master explains differently. There cannot be any suffering without this world being converted into event, and from event to incident. Incident has two elements of I-ness and my-ness. What we are doing? We are just becoming aware, we are understanding this I-ness and my-ness in the form of demands, expectations, thoughts, feeling and emotions. We are noticing. You simply do nothing, you notice. So you simply notice and do nothing. There comes an observer. Okay, from inside. What happened? That a default mind converted into a discerning intellect. there is a rise in self-awareness, and now we are an observer. Before, the role of the default mind is to subjectify every experience. Observer. We authenticate by investigating. What is investigation? You are looking at the thought, feeling, and emotions. You recognize there is an observer of these thought, feeling, and emotions. The observer is behind the events and incident. And we find that observer is untouched. It remains silent. Observer, it is just can we see that it is just an understanding? It is an understanding, it is a space, it is an awareness. Many words are. So let me make it simple. So you are observing everything going on into the mind at a distance. At a distance means you have a space. And that space is nothing but awareness, and awareness is the space. And the last letter of the poise is E. You embody yourself. You embody real self. You embody awareness. Or you can say, awareness is there which is independent, not touched by any thought, feeling, and emotions. And if that happens, this is what the Master is saying. The sole function of the knowledge is to devour the monster of ignorance. You may remember I discussed about the crocodile. Yes, in the beginning, if the mind cannot make that understanding real, then only we just look at the breath. So you engage the mind on the breath, and behind that, observer is maintained, the witness is maintained. You're looking at the breath. Breath is going in and coming out, feeling the sensation, and so it is not the breath. Mindfulness leads to awakening. It is the process of engaging the mind so that this mind cannot invite the past, the memories, the pain and the pleasure. We remain detached. That is what is the poise method. The more and more we need to follow it, do it by. So what we did, we constantly, consistently contemplated and reflected. Contemplated and reflected. That continuous contemplation and reflection, what happens, keeps the default mind away from your daily life activities, provided we remember and open your eyes. How do you remember? The last session we did it, Eastern wisdom as a wealth, as the greatest wealth, if I recognize as the greatest wealth, then only we can live into that wisdom. Second issue we discussed about mental maturity. There must be a mental maturity. How the mental maturity comes? By discernment, by viveka. Now the two things. We recognize the wealth of the Eastern wisdom is the greatest wealth. There is a mental maturity. If the mental maturity is not there, we cannot internalize the knowledge. Then comes the fourth point, that this intellect should follow the humility. It should not follow the I-ness and my-ness. If the intellect follows the I-ness and my-ness, delusion and suffering is inevitable. You cannot, and so you have the 4 points. You are committed to the practice, and the first practice we did, what we did is the Mangala Charan every day in the morning. So we are going slowly to the very nature of ignorance. Whether you say very nature of ignorance, very nature of delusion, very nature of suffering, you can say all are more or less the same. The metaphor I did talk about this metaphor. What is that? The mind doesn't project the danger like the snake in the rope. Throughout the day, we have an events of pleasure, we have an events of pain, but these both events of pleasure and pain are basically converted into an incident by the default mind, and we continue to live in that world all the time. You may have a couple of incidents of pain, frustration and failure. You may have a couple of incidents of the pleasure. Oh, let me grab a cup of tea. It gives me a delight, All these impressions are accumulated in the mind and they add up to my ignorance. So should I not take it? No. You take it with awareness. That is the practice that we have done just now. So this pleasure and pain, this is the I-ness and my-ness. Because of the incident, this I-ness wants to avoid the pain and wants to accept the pleasure. The twin roots of the inner turmoil. That is what we have been understanding, the I-ness, the process of identifying with the things that are temporary and changing, I-ness. The feeling of possessiveness over the things, people and ideas is nothing but the minus. I-ness, minus. I-ness, minus. So I have to explore. We mistake a temporary role or feeling for our true self. We think, for example, we think I'm a husband and I'm a wife. Without minus, you cannot be husband or a wife. I'm a husband because I have a wife. I'm a wife because I have a husband. I'm a success because I'm scared of failure. Possessiveness is already there. So the I-ness and my-ness are constantly working. And that is why that greatest wealth of the knowledge does not stay in the mind. That is why we need to do the consistent, committed practice. Now see, I'm husband and I'm wife, I'm success, I'm failure, I'm rich and I'm bad, I'm good. I'm bad because I have a guilt. I'm very good. Both are ego. Both are I. So, what is all this? This is a fragile sense of self worth, rising and falling with external incidents. Events are converted into the incident. Losing a job or facing criticism feels like a personal annihilation of I-ness, creates a false, fragile self and an unpredictable world around. There is no way we should feel any problem or duality if I am aware of the incident and the I-ness and mindness. Losing a job, losing the money, possessiveness, you see, a constant state of fear of losing what we possess. Why I think on that? Let me start thinking creatively and continue working. Lose the job, let me find something else. So understand clearly the way this master is moving. I-ness and minus incident. The greatest wealth is the knowledge and the wisdom is understanding. Now it is messed up at the three layers of the delusion that we discussed. We discussed the physical layer, we discussed the subtle layer, we discussed the causal layer. We started with the causal layer, deepest and the most powerful layer, deludes, the three gunas we don't see, but it still exists. It still exists in this form of a symptoms that leads to the subtle layer, that leads to the physical layer, and we experience these three layers. It means I-ness and minus, I-ness and minus expands at these three layers. Well, I don't know what my mood is upset today. I don't know what is the reason. Causal layer, causal plane, causal plane. When the mind recognizes, no, you caused me this suffering, subtle layer, and the physical pain, etc., pertaining to the physical body and sense perception, you look at a person whom you hate or react incident, or whom you are delighted, that gives you the pleasure. That is in all these situations, can I maintain a witness and observer? Can I practice poise, presence? I notice, I don't subjectify, I notice this is an incident caused by the I-ness and minus, and you will find out there is no problem at all. You may have a pain, but you don't have a suffering, and you take care of it. You take care of it. So that very understanding leads to extraordinary awareness, and ultimately it leads to awakening. So what is required now? In one word, the master says the discernment is required. And discernment is the power of the intellect. You already possess the intellect, you don't use it. You already have a key, and you are searching the key outside. That is how I'm just expressing the way the master has written these verses. So it means my intellect, the ability to observe my own mind, question my reactions, and choose a different path is a rare gift. It's a rare gift of the human life. We discussed about the three gifts also. I'm combining all the things. If we have a knowledge of the Eastern wisdom, and we have a commitment. Listen to it and you see that how I combine all these principles and concepts. The more you combine in these principles in your mind, you start thinking about it, you start contemplating and reflecting, that will work. You will see it works. You can compare. Unlike animals, pre-programmed intelligence, humans possess rare intellect, enabling conscious choice and transformation. The near and the dear ones, I have learned a great lesson. The near and dear ones, they react. I can also react, but intellect has a choice. Don't react. Have you, do you remember that I told you if honey says you something, keep quiet? Honey doesn't say anything, still keep quiet. So there is a point of an observer behind it that awakens you to the intellect. The focused practice of using this gift is called the discernment. And in that discernment, you see the observer is always there. That incident of reaction comes and goes. Incident of pleasure comes and goes. They are temporary. And it has to happen every day. I don't have a control over the world. Oh, so that observer becomes the witness. That is what masters are talking about it. I think perhaps in other session I discussed. This witness is the name of another name of mindfulness. Leave aside kundalini meditation, mantra meditation. So when the meditation is done with the knowledge and wisdom, witness consciousness, we use the word vipassana. Vipassana means seeing. Vipassana means seeing, see, perception. What I perceive your body, but mind, another perception. Another perception is subtle. What is another perception? I could see your body is not moving, your eyes are looking at me. It means another perception. You see the subtle perception? The mind makes it clear that, oh, you are listening to me patiently. That is mental perception. One is the physical perception, another is the mental perception. Are you clear? Let me give an example. The Newtonian era in the science started with this. What is that? This matter, I see the matter in the solid consists of the small particles known as the atom. And from there, the Newtonian era with the subtle perception. So they named it, this is atom is the ultimate cause. Why? That is why atom, Latin word, means indivisible. Atom. But after that they find this atom can also be divisible. Electron, proton and neutron. So another era started. And then another era started at the subtler level. Only everything is energy. What we are doing, 3 layers, we are doing the same thing. Physical, perception, mental, subtle perception, causal perception, transcend all the 3. Science says everything is energy. We say that manipulation of energy is done by the consciousness. The world cannot be created by chance. Everything is very well organized and planned. Eastern wisdom says it is a project of self-discovery. The more you contemplate and reflect, more you discover it is like the water from the well. It never finishes. You need not to pour the water. That is the beauty of the journey of the Eastern wisdom. So just keep in your mind awakening, consciousness, delusion, ignorance, discernment, humility, I-ness, my-ness, mental maturity, 3 layers. I'm simply saying you sit down with eyes closed and start reflecting on these things systematically. You will find that you are absorbed into meditation. For today's topic, I'm coming closer to the very nature of the ignorance. So we say the ignorance causes the suffering, delusion. So ignorance, delusion, suffering, discernment. So let us come closer. I'm just playing with these words. Life is a continuous flow. Life. What is my life? Your life is I'm a part of the world. Body, mind, intellect, and ego, I-ness and my-ness. And then the events outside. And the events outside takes place with the objects, time, and space. It doesn't mean that your event is different than mine and my event taking place in my life is different than yours. Qualitatively, the events are the same. Quantitatively, the moment I say quantitatively and the way I perceive, it is an incident in my life. Otherwise, it is an event. It is just an event. Let me give I just remember a beautiful metaphor which obviously everyone likes it, but Dennis will like it more. The events are intrinsically neutral facts. Neutral facts. Perceived without judgment or personal bias. That is what the event is. So it means the universe is constantly changing? Yes. So universe is like a huge computer running precise cause and effect software. Meaning every event is generated strictly by the universal law. Use computer. Window by default, I see the interface. It has a cause and effect. Cause and effect software. Every event is generated strictly by the universal law. There are no unplanned or random events. Suffering only begins when a neutral event transforms into a personalized incident. An incident is an event that the mind has subjectified. And I gave you an example. I don't want to do the session today. Why? Her laptop is not showing the video. It has some cause and effect. That's why it hangs over. I don't want to do it. Replace the laptop with a husband or a wife or with near and dear ones, with the people at war. You see, this is, can I perceive the world with that understanding? The life changes, because then any event is not converted into an incident. This is what it is. The distinction between an event and incident determines whether one experiences peace or pain. You remember the story of Socrates and his wife. Seeing a person is an event, but turning that person into a soulmate or getting married, divorce, is an incident. Is an incident because they carry personal involvement and attachment. So, I have a choice. Mental maturity, discernment, greatest wealth. The reflection necessary is recognizing that one habitually creates incident, impulsively creates incidents, often subconsciously, habitually, impulsively, and then what? That is what I explained to you in the last session. Mind as it is, do you remember? And the mind should be mind as it is. First, the mind as it is. Oh, mind, you look at the event. Don't make it incident. You are happy. Now, with that state of the happiness coming from the observer, you are analyzing, you are perceiving everything. And in that perception, I gave you a metaphor of the mirror. Huh? I gave you the metaphor of a mirror. In that observer, in that awareness, you feel a sense of internal freedom. With that freedom, you perceive the event. We have to yet to go deeper. That why this event has taken place in my life at this time. We have to find the answer of that. But before that, we have to, step by step, we have to remove that ignorance. If we remove that ignorance, that is what is known as we have found our real self. You know, when the mind is working perfectly, means like a perfect mirror, it reflects what is present accurately. Without bias, and crucially, it does not create or hold any impression once the object moves away. Once the person moves away, you meet the person, hey, how are you finished? It does not create or hold any impression. The state of the mind should be is what creates suffering. So I should not think of the mind should be. No. You create a project outside and yes, I have $1,000, I must have $10,000. That is what this should be. Purely objectively. Without claiming it is an incident in my life. You are always free. The state the mind should be is what creates suffering. This state is driven by ego, imposing expectations and judgment, declaring that an event should be different from what is. This is the broken mirror. This is the broken mirror. And that causes lot of problems. So whether you start contemplating with I-ness and my-ness, whether you start doing with the delusion, I have already explained to you the different ways. If you don't do it, it will not happen. It will not happen. So you keep the focus. I want to get rid of this suffering by contemplation and reflection, by understanding. It is possible. 100% possible. Many of masters, including this master, say you need not to practice anything. You simply need to understand. But for that, I need to become a higher and higher level of a seeker. If I am not a seeker, it will not work. It will not work in that reference. If you have heard me patiently with alertness and awareness, that is basically the nature of ignorance. We want to bring an end to the ignorance to awaken. So how you can explain it in one sentence? Fundamental ignorance of one's true nature. I don't know my true nature. This is ignorance. I know it. Ignorance is no. The answer is, we already know the answer. I know my true nature. True nature is of the nature of permanent peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. One sentence. Or you can say it is absolute existence, consciousness, bliss. Or you can say it is all pervading. It is of the nature of permanent happiness only. Do I live in all these, any one of the three states which I explained to you? No, I am in ignorance. First, we have understood that, okay, I live in ignorance. Then I have to find out how, where, how, why. So the master, this master, I'm focusing on this master. This master says that there is a misperception of the reality. I perceive a person who is my husband and a wife. Is this a right perception or a misperception? At the spiritual level, at the transactional reality, everything is okay. Husband, wife, divorced, married, and etc., everything is. But at the spiritual, at the subtler level, I explained you the Newtonian era, at the atom, indivisible. They have broken. Cause and effect. Again, they went into particles. They found more than 50 particles in an atom. And then they went into the energy. They said energy and the particle, the dual nature of the matter. But they could not go into the consciousness. We have gone into that state of the consciousness. So, fundamental nature. Do I know myself? Yes. Finished. There is no ignorance. I need not to worry about it. The way you know you are man and women, the way we know that I am the real self all the time. Finished. That is known as an awakened state. So when I don't know, so I came out, then the idea is misperception. So my perception. So how do I perceive through the mind? Is the mind pure? No. So there the concept of the impurity of the mind. But how come? Who are you? You see the fundamental ignorance. Who are you? I am a man? No. My mind cannot answer without any identification. The moment I have an identification, I am in ignorance. Selfie identity. It has started thousands of years ago. A more active misperception is over-identification with label of being rich, poor, husband, wife, divorce, and long list. It is always there. Or even I am into anxiety. At this subtler level, I am frustrated. I succeeded. You see, you think of it, make a statement, check the statement, and you will find out there is a fundamental ignorance is constantly working. Very subtle. I am worthless, I have a lot of guilt. You see the identification. I am special because I limit myself. You see that ignorance, all pervading, all pervading, all pervading, all pervading. If I answer according to you, then I am a good person. I am not upset with you. But if I don't answer according to you, then I am upset with you. Buddha says this is what the world is suffering. This entire world of misperception created by my mind is what constantly, and I work with these thought and feeling and emotions all the time. I cannot get rid of it. This ignorance is called avidya. Avidya isn't a passive state of not knowing. It is an active process of believing something that is false. Today I told you that we are going to cover this topic of nature of the ignorance, because then only you can understand what this master is saying. It is not a passive state. I don't know, it is not. I don't know French, I don't know. No, it is not. It's an active process of believing something that is false. It is the mind actively constructing an illusory reality, then suffering within the self created illusion. You met a person, soulmate, after a week, soulmate. Or there must be some differences. You cannot avoid that. So it means this is an active state of the ignorance constantly working. So I deal with one ignorance, I find a solution in another ignorance. That is what is happening in the world outside. Look at the relationship between husband and wife. Everything is very good, soulmate, soulmate. After a week, some differences. That is also misperception. Then resolution, that is also a misperception. Pain, pleasure, life. True nature of the ignorance. You have to understand that. This ignorance is a power, lies in its subtle nature. We feel as if this ignorance is very real. My fear is real, my sadness is real, my anger is real, nothing is real. Fact is that nothing is real. It is misperception. Fear, this sadness, hesitation, all these emotions appears very real, but their root cause is illusion and ignorance. The recognition of this is the first step towards freedom from suffering. Otherwise, there is no way. No way. This has been explained by our masters through a metaphor. The sun represents our inherent, unchanging, and luminous true self. This is the part of us that is always whole, complete, and at peace. And then the clouds overcast the sun. It does not damage the true nature of the sun, it is covered. That is why ignorance appears very real. The clouds temporarily hide the sun, but it doesn't damage or diminish it. When it does not diminish it, then why I experience the fear anxiety duality. The clouds symbolize our temporary mental states and condition, whether it is a fear, anger, anxiety. I told you, if you remember, all these fear, anger, anxiety, limiting belief comes from incident. There is no incident as such, it is an event. But why the event has converted into an incident? It is because of I-ness and minus. You can go back and cause and effect. So they are not a part of the sky itself. Means anger, fear, anxiety, limiting belief is not the part of the sun. They are the clouds. Can I live into that understanding? The greatest wealth is the knowledge. So this master says, as the gust of wind or the passage of the time will cause the clouds to disperse, insight and understanding can dissolve our ignorance, one action. And falling into sleep can also drop our fear, anxiety. When we are in deep sleep, we don't feel the fear. But once we wake up, it returns again. It returns again. So those people who say, no, I've been suffering from stress for how long? 10 years. They are telling a lie. What happens in deep sleep? Do they still suffer from stress in the deep sleep? Identification. We take it as identification. It's very simple. But when we take it as an identification, then there is a problem. Take one more metaphor. I told you rope and the snake. That's a very famous metaphor in Eastern wisdom. Rope is there. I don't recognize the true nature of the rope when in a dim light, in a dusk. I don't recognize the rope. Its real nature I don't recognize. So instead of a real rope, in the dim light, what is this dim light? Can you compare it? It's a distorted perception, misperception, dimness. So what I see the rope as a snake. Rope is rope. Now I see the snake. The snake is the illusion created by our misperception. It is not real. So the fear of snake is unreal. Fear is also. Can you make out? Can you conclude that? If the snake is unreal, fear is also unreal. We have to understand the true nature of ignorance. Then only we can follow the teaching of this master. Now you bring a flashlight, or a moving closer to the object, or moving closer to the mirage water, whatever it is, represents gaining right knowledge or insight. The moment the light shines clearly, here the light represents the knowledge, clearly on the object, where the snake has gone, where the cause of the fear has gone. So will the fear remain in my mind? No. Fear is gone. If it is a real fear, how it can go? It has no locus standi. You have to use your intellect to a very higher level of subtler layer. Background of subtle, those subtle layers, I-ness, my-ness, and I have already explained you the fear and the panic also disappear immediately. Because the cause of this suffering is the false belief that this rope is a snake. The snake never existed in reality. Our problems often have no substance outside of our mind. Oh, today my honey did not offer a cup of coffee. It means then there is some. Oh, he or she hates me. Why the hell your mind is creating unnecessary belief? Our problems often have no substance outside our mind. Let me know. You find out and give me the example. Then we apply the discernment. The solution is not to fight the snake or to become brave. No, but to simply see the truth. You feel that, I cannot do anything, I will divorce you. Not to do that. But I'm just giving an example. But solution is not to fight the snake, to become brave, but to simply see. That is what they see, perception. Science has at last, perceived the energy field. Field, that is what they say. The right knowledge has an immediate and transformative effect. And that is how we understand the root of the suffering is ignorance. The root of suffering is ignorance. With the rope and snake, find out temporary and permanent, non-destructive nature of one thing, one thought, and non-destructive nature of other thought. You have an instant resolution. So here the solution of removing the ignorance is understanding rather than effort. No effort is required. But for that, no effort is required. We have to become a higher level of a seeker. If we are a higher level of a seeker, higher level of a seeker means discernment and purity of the mind is required. I should stop there. Anyone wants to discuss and reflect on it? Yes. Janice, you want to go ahead?
All the problems, sufferings, and pleasures happen with the false I, or the ego who claims to be me. When I forget that ego is separate from me, then I suffer and I have pleasures, because the consciousness reflected by the mind gets entangled with the ego and its experiences, so that it appears that the consciousness and the false I is one. And I think this is the part of the ignorance. Ignorance is claiming that I'm the body or the mind or Dennis or computer programmer, etc. Ignorance is creating an imaginary reality that is based on limited and incomplete information incoming from the sense organs and the mind.
Beautiful.
Ignorance is inability to continuously maintain the knowledge of who I really am and who I am not. And when we use our intellect to analyze and discern, then we understand that here is the consciousness that sees, Here is the body and the mind and outer world that are seen, and here is the space between them, and they are separate, they are not entangled in any way. And when there is continuous understanding of this separation, we don't allow the consciousness to get entangled with the ego and create this imaginary reality. Then we observe that ego alone has pleasures and suffering. And I am not, I am only the consciousness who observes.
Beautifully said. You focused on the I-ness and the my-ness. You can focus on the incident, you arrive at the same result. You focus on your fear, anxiety, hesitation because you see the snake in a rope, you can arrive at the same result. You can focus on the misperception. It's my identification. You can arrive. So the true nature of the ignorance cannot be understood just on the surface. We have to go deeper and deeper and deeper. Beautifully said. How are you, David and Jerry?
Thank you. Wow, that was a lot, and very, very meaningful to me. Last night, we were with Steve and I. Steve and I were walking around trick or treating with our granddaughter, and we're talking about our meditation, and we were saying that it's crazy how simple it is, and we make everything so complicated, and it's just we don't have the right tools. Jerry and I were cleaning windows last weekend, and they weren't clean, they were smudgy and everything. A friend came over on Sunday night who owns a truck washing business, and she said, "Oh, you got to buy this and this towel," and so we ran out and got that, did it, and we got clarity. And so it's having the right tools or the people to give you the right tools to just get right down to what I call the first principles, right down to the consciousness. And we're attached to our I-ness and minus, and just for me, it's hanging out in humility and pureness of the consciousness. Thank you.
Yes, beautiful. It's very simple, provided mind is able to digest what is simple. Mind is already have become very complex. It contains fear, anxiety, duality as a past impression or as a perception. If I lose the job, what will happen? If I marry, what will happen? If I divorce, what will happen? Just go on. Unnecessary. Beautifully said. How are you, Jerry?
I'm good, thank you. It reminds me, this lesson, just that the tools are there with the knowledge, where our belts are completely full, and the event is an opportunity always, every day, every moment of every day to shine. And then it's also an opportunity to notice if you're feeling that you're not free, you're incomplete, you're disturbed in any way. And then that's the opportunity to apply your tools to just say, okay, step back, what's going on for me? And then shine, And how quickly can we do that?
Yes.
So that we really do see every event as an opportunity and not an incident, never an incident.
Yes, the event becomes an incident because I perceive from myself limited identification, I-ness, with an idea of possessing. I gave you yesterday was Halloween, so we brought a lot of candies. So ring bell, and then I put the whole the whole pack before the kid, and kid picked up one. I said, no, pick the more. pick more. I repeated 3 times and 4 times, and I checked my mind. Givingness dissolves all your fear. It gives you, it thrills you. So then another, I maybe teenager, maybe 13 and 14-year-old girl, I said, take more, take more. So I did not, give. I said, no, you take more, and you take more. And she started looking at me, should I take more? Should I take more? And I see, 13, 14 years of girls, they have already created a self-limited personality. How can I take it? Then I put, 12, 15 candies and I put it into her bag. Every event, every opportunity, every event is an opportunity. Every event is an opportunity. So I check that I'm a part of that giving. You can be a giving. The moment you start giving, maybe emotional, physical, mental, the life changes. Whether you have to say something.
Thank you, sir. Sir, today's what I understood is like that experiences which are coming from physical, subtle, or causal body, they are simply events. But when I claim that it is my events, then it becomes incidents. And when I say that these are my events, I also created these are my events. I also created a false I behind it.
Yeah.
This I-ness. So I create a false I. When I see anything with this false I, because the perception is limited, it will create into fear and anxiety. And it is an ignorance because my perception is also limited. And with this I, every event will turn out to be some kind of anxious event or some kind of fear, something is there.
Yes.
I am not seeing the whole picture. That's why this fear exists. But when I see that, as you said, that when I put the light in that, then that what I'm seeing as a snake will become a rope. So when I see this event without I-ness, then light would be there and that fear goes away because it's just a thought in the mind. There is no fear for that thought. It is created by me because I am also existing with that thought.
Beautiful. Yes, that is the whole idea. I don't see the whole picture. Then you can question why I don't see the whole picture, because I'm limited. How I'm made limited by the mind. Why by the mind? Because this event is the incident in my life, but fact is that it continues to remain as an event. It continues to remain as an event. And then this master will go deeper that why this event has taken place in your life. Simple answer is prarabdha, but then we will go deeper into it. That why I am able to talk to you guys, this is also an event. It has a prarabdha. On my part, it has a prarabdha on your part. Terry, you want to say something? You are consciousness. You are not the mind. Mind converts, mind is able to perceive the event. Understand this very important point. The mind can perceive the event. Consciousness is neutral. At the level of the consciousness, there is no event. Everything is only one whole consciousness. For the space, did you see? For the water, water does not say how many waves. Water, yes, okay. You say it, so it is. That is my nature. Yes, Terry.
I think you said that everything is not planned, but it's already been figured out by the vast intelligence.
Yes.
So if you try to control it, then you fail and then you get anxiety.
You're right.
Because you can't. But you have to do what you have to do, and then you let the rest of it happen.
Yes, do the best you can do without any identification with the ego. So our master explains, the last point is also very important, just came to my mind. The way the spider throws out those wire thin like structure, and I was looking last week, I said I wanted to know the mechanism. It throws out a wire like, very thread like structure, then it creates a web, and then it throws out at a distance, it hangs on, and then again it throws out, it hangs on. That is how it covers so many distances. But everything is happening from the spider, within the spider, in the spider, and when the spider does all its work, it absorbs. Nothing happens to the spider. Same thing, nothing happens to the consciousness. Consciousness through the mind, through the three layers, goes out, so-called creates the word, and dissolves. But don't worry, we are going there step by step. That is all for today. We will meet again next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Namaste, everyone.